In this video, we will be finishing off 7B by finding angles in transversals and parallel lines. So these ones are very similar to 7B, part 1, what we did in the last video, except they get a little bit trickier. So we need to use all our properties, alternate, corresponding, and co-interior, and this is our angle properties for parallel lines, as well as the angle properties we talked about in the last, sorry, I just lost it there. In the last video, here it is, using these, complementary, supplementary, revolution, and vertically opposite. So if we know all of these properties innately, then they start layering on top of each other. They might have one that has a vertically opposite angle and a corresponding angle, for instance. So we need to work through this and be like detectives, finding out which of the angle properties works best and working through until we're complete and found all the unknowns. So let's have a go at 7A. You can have a your turn, so pause the video when you're at that point, draw out the diagram and see if you can solve it, then press play. So for part A, we're going to do the worked example here. So firstly, we want to find A and B. Now, if I just block this, and I'm essentially just looking at this and this, so I'm going to draw that in like that. So if I just block that out, ignore the B down there, we can see we have that angle property that we did in the last video and in 7A, the vertically opposite. So A would have to be 110 degrees. So I like to write my angles on the diagram, but also write your answer in your notebook as well, like below the diagram or to the left of the diagram. So I'm going to write 110 degrees. And what's the reason for that? Because it says give reasons for your answers. Well, this is vertically opposite. Okay, so now we've solved A. Now, I didn't actually get rid of that B. I've just, for the example, shown you that we're covering that up. And we're just looking at these. Now we've got 110 degrees here for A. We also have B here. Now, there's something you may note is that we have 1, 2, so we have a pair of parallel lines. We have an angle over here and an angle here, so that means we're probably going to use one of the rules from the angles in parallel lines, like in the example above. So, let's see what shape matches up. I mean, I see a C here. You see that C? And we can see C is co-interior. So, I draw my C, and that means A has to equal B. Now that we've figured out A, we can now figure out B. So B would have to be what? Well, we know that they have to sum to 180 degrees. Therefore, 110 plus B has to equal 180 degrees. So what would B have to be? Therefore, B is equal to 70 degrees. And let's draw that into the diagram there. And that works, right? We've got 70 plus 110 is equal to 180. Now, what was the reason for B being 70? Well, that's right, because of I think I just spelled that wrong. Co-interior angles. And don't write co-interior angles. It sounds like a really bad, or like a maths bikey gang. So pause the video. We're doing the your turn now on the right. Can you sketch out the diagram in your book, see if you can find the B and the A, and then press play to see if you got the answer correct. Okay, the your turn starts now. So our first thing is this. We see that 105 and B are vertically opposite angles. Therefore, B would have to be 105 degrees. Our reason is vertically opposite. A, we can see here, is co-interior to the 105. Therefore, A has to equal something. Well, what would A have to equal? Well, we know that it'd be 105 plus A has to equal 180 degrees. Therefore, A is equal to 180 minus 105, which is 75 degrees. What's our reason? Co-interior. Okay, hopefully you got that one. We're on to example B now. I'm going to work through this video here. So we've got 68 degrees here. We have an A and a B. What we want to find is A and B, and we know we've got a pair of parallel lines. 68 degrees over here, B and an A, means we're probably looking at the angle properties for parallel lines. So what do you see? Well, let's go through our weapons. We've got our Harry Potter Z, our F, and our co-interior angle. Which one do you think matches it best? Well, I see here that F. So in purple, I'm going to highlight that. We've got an F there. And if we can draw an F, that means this angle here, 68 degrees, is equal to this angle here, which is B. So therefore, we say B is equal to 68 degrees. And what's our reason? Well, the F is the corresponding. Now, we're going to move on to our next part. We need to figure out A. Now that we have 68 degrees there, and we have A here, do you note how we have this straight line here? Okay. So essentially, let's just pretend, let's just cover that up. If we cover that up, if this is 68 here and this is a straight line, can we see this is a supplementary angle? And that A plus B has to equal 180 degrees because it's a straight line. So if that's the case, then let's go and say A plus B. Now B in this case is 68 degrees, has to equal 180 degrees. Therefore, A has to equal 180 minus 68, which is going to be 112 degrees. Because of that, now that we have that, 112 degrees, we can say the reason is supplementary. These are supplementary angles. And I might just highlight that in, what's the colour I haven't used? Light blue, just to show that that's a supplementary angle there. Now pause the video. I want you to have a go at the your turn. Once you complete, press play. The your turn starts now. So first thing, I can ignore that B part there. I can see that there's a straight line here. Therefore, these angles has to equal 180 degrees. So A plus 142 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Take 142 from both sides. So A would have to be 38 degrees. Our reason, supplementary. So I like to add that to the diagram. Our next thing, we've got B over here. Now it uses another parallel line. Therefore, we're most likely to be using the parallel line rules that we learned in this lesson. I can see an F like that. So I'm going to highlight that in purple. Purpley pink, I'm not sure what colour you see. And we know that this angle here would have to equal this angle here. Therefore, we can say B has to equal 142 degrees as its corresponding. Now this is the video completed. We'll be going on to the work now. Best of luck.